Yeah, it was an odd pattern. I think most people in the beginning, or most internet exchanges across the world, I think saw about a 30% increase. As all of the lockdowns hit all over the place, and we saw the same thing in the first week. We saw a rapid 30% increase. Second week, it kind of dipped down a little bit. And since then, it's just steadily grown up to, at the time that article was written, it was a 50% increase. So, just before the lockdown started in South Africa, we had reached a terabit of traffic. And at the time of that article, we were at 1.5. And as of yesterday, we're at 1.6. So there's no, that is literally 60% up in a couple of months. And I think one of the reasons is I think a lot of that infrastructure has been in place in South Africa specifically. If you looked at the amount of connected capacity to the internet exchange, we're sitting at about 17 terabits worth of connected capacity. So there's capacity, and that's what it goes back to what I said earlier about an internet exchange is a place where you can easily interconnect. And I think Andrew Basket mentioned that as well, is that if you try to physically interconnect with 300 different network operators, it's going to be a hell of a task. So you have all of this connected capacity waiting to be used. And there's, in South Africa, there's a lot of fiber in the ground. There's continuous rollouts of FTTH and FTTB. And so, again, that also goes back to the point of when people start experiencing the internet without any issues, they tend to want to use it more. Obviously, during the pandemic, people had a lot more time to be on the internet as well. You wake up at the same time in the morning, but you don't have to then go and sit in a car for 2 hours trying to get to the office. So what do? You pick up your cell phone, your iPad, or your laptop, and you go online. And because people have got quicker internet access these days, they tend to go further. We keep saying that a lot of companies have sort of restrictive policies on their company networks, and so when people are sitting at home going onto the internet, there's no restriction. They can go further. They can watch more things, and again, like I said, there were just a lot more devices on the internet for a lot longer. And I think one of the things that is important to note as well is there was the suggestion that once the lockdown came to an end, everything would go back to normal. So in other words, the traffic would die off again. And we've seen the opposite. As I said, we started at 1, and we're now at 1.6. And I wouldn't say that our lockdown is entirely over, but we are currently at the least restrictive model, which is as close to zero as possible. And certainly some of it is people that are now working from home and haven't gone back to the business, but I think when people have gotten a taste of what the internet can do, so now they want more of it.
That's right. No, that's impressive numbers, by the way. Congratulations on that and the entire team. Let me ask you one thing, Andrew. Did you also saw new networks coming into the switches during the pandemic, or was that difficult due to restrictions to access a data center facility within South Africa?
Yeah. So I've said previously that I think we were lucky in that the regulators realized the importance of the internet. It's any government that experienced a pandemic would understand that the internet was the quickest way of communicating with the citizenship. So we were lucky in that we were able to. Well, the regulations weren't as restrictive for internet players because it was important. We did see a number of networks coming on to the internet exchange during the pandemic, and it was simply because you had a lot of small ISPs, especially in outlying regions that didn't have enough capacity to cover the influx of users onto the network. And so they very quickly came to the Internet Exchange as a way of generating extra capacity. One thing that I also wanted to mention about the first question, and Andrew Basket has raised a critical point. Most of the new networks that we see coming to the Internet Exchange, usually when they get there, they're not as experienced as the rest of them. But peering at an Internet Exchange is one of the quickest ways to skill yourself up on anything internet related.
Right. Thanks. Thanks for the thoughts, Sanjay.